Hero has plenty of great attacks within his very large arsenal of moves. One of those great attacks would be Kafrizz, which is his fully charged neutral special. It's an incredibly powerful projectile with a fairly large hitbox. But how does it stack up against some of the other similar type projectiles in Smash? That's what I'm here to find out. But first, let's establish some rules. First, the character's projectile has to be chargeable, and they have to be able to store the charge. That means moves like Mega Man's Charge Shot and Bowser Jr.'s Clown Cannon are disqualified. It also needs to be charged manually, so moves like Rob's Robo Beam don't count, as it charges passively. Cloud's Limit Break also kind of falls into that pit, since Cloud can receive charge by taking or dealing damage. But I'm going to include it anyway since you can still charge it manually. The attack also needs to have knockback, so that means no Poison Breath. And since Kirby needs to swallow a character in order to get their chargeable projectiles, I'm not going to include him, as he doesn't have those attacks on his own. Finally, these tests will have all characters starting in the same position, and I will only be testing the fully charged variants of each move, and Mario will be used as the punching bag for all of them. That's it for the rules. So for these tests, I decided to look at Kafrizz, Samus's Charge Shot, Shadow Ball, Aura Sphere, Rob's Gyro, Sun Salutation, Bonus Fruit, Thoron, Charge Blast, and Cloud's Limit Break Beam Blade. God, that is a mouthful. Just as a quick note, I tested Lucario's Aura Sphere at 50% intervals, going up to 200%. I also tested Wii Fit Trainer both with and without the deep breathing buff. So let's move on to the results of the first test I did, which focused on the damage output of each attack. Unsurprisingly, Hero came in first place with Kafrizz dealing 37.2% damage. Behind that would be Samus's Charge Shot, which dealt 33.6% damage. And in third place would be Lucario's 200% Aura Sphere, which is just barely behind Charge Shot, dealing the amount of 33.1%. Here are the full results of this test, which shows that Rob's Gyro is far behind in last place, dealing only 8.7%. For the next test, I looked at the knockback strength of each attack and how early it would kill. So basically, what is the earliest percent at which Mario would get KO'd by the attack? For example, I had to set Mario to 338% before Rob's Gyro would kill. Once again, this attack ended up in last place. Hero's Kafrizz, on the other hand, sits pretty in first place, which killed at 65%. Following up would be 200% Aura Sphere, which killed at 72%, and then Mewtwo's Shadow Ball, which killed at 85%. Like last time, here are the full results. Samus doesn't fall too far behind Mewtwo, as Charge Beam killed at 90%. Now let's look at the charge speed of each move. I measured this in frames, and I began at the very start of the attack animation, and ended once the move became fully charged. To be honest, frame data really isn't my specialty, so these numbers could be slightly off, but regardless, the ranking is going to be accurate, at least according to how I measured it. I'm going to rank from worst to best. Far in last place would be Limit Break, which took 407 frames. After that, it would be Thoron at 149 frames. Shadow Ball is next at 134 frames. The next is a tie between Me Gunner and Pac-Man, which was barely ahead at 133 frames. Samus's Charge Shot came next at 126 frames. Then Wii Fit at 104 frames, which is the same with or without deep breathing. Aura Sphere was 100 frames, which also measured the same regardless of damage taken. Then Rob at 97 frames, and once again, Hero is in first place at 90 frames. So far, Hero has come ahead in every category, but I have just one more test to do. This time, I'll be ranking the attack range of each move. I put the front of each character against the 0 marker in training mode, and measured the distance of how far each projectile went. Like last time, I'll be ranking them from worst to best. For the third time, Rob came in last place with the shortest distance. For the record, I know Rob's Gyro is a very different move than the other attacks in this list, but since it's technically a chargeable projectile that can be stored, it only felt right to include it. Anyway, next up would be Cloud's Limit Break Beam Blade, which is then barely outperformed by Pac-Man's Key. Lucario's Aura Sphere follows up next. This attack goes the same distance regardless of how high his percentage is, although the hitbox does become larger. Next would be pretty much a tie between Shadow Ball and Kafrizz, as they both go a very similar distance. Then it would be Wii Fit's Sun Salutation, which goes just a little bit further. This move also travels the same distance regardless of whether Deep Breathing is active or not. In third place would be Mii Gunner's Charge Blast, leading into Samus's Charge Shot at second place. And then far ahead in first place is Thoron, which travels incredibly far. You might have to get out a magnifying glass to even see it on the screen. So just to recap, Kafrizz dealt the most damage, it killed at the earliest percent, and it charged the fastest. While it might not have had the longest range, it still goes plenty far. I know it takes MP to use this attack, so it's not like you can just spam it. It takes 36 MP to use, which means out of 100 MP, you could only use the attack twice in quick succession before having to build up more MP. But honestly, I don't think that keeps it from easily being one of the best long-range projectiles in the game. It isn't too hard for a good hero player to build up MP, which means it won't be long before they're shooting another fiery ball of death at you. Now, is it overpowered? That's up for debate, as everyone is going to have their own opinion. I'm still unsure about many aspects of Hero, but it's hard to deny that certain traits need some fixing. So what do you think? Let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again soon. Catch you later.